This video is all about hiking alone, why I often find myself hiking all by myself, how to do it safely, how to gradually become more comfortable in the woods all by yourself. And stick around, I'll share a couple of scary stories that I've experienced by myself in the woods over the many years that I've been doing it. So if you're just curious about hiking alone, or maybe you've been doing it for many years, there's going to be something for everyone in this video. And if nothing else, just spend some time with me here in the Colorado Rockies hiking by ourselves today. With the beautiful Longs Peak behind me in Rocky Mountain National Park, let me tell you a little bit about how I got started hiking alone. It all started when I was in college a long time ago out of necessity. I loved to hike. I had friends who also loved the outdoors, but sometimes friends just weren't available to hike at the same time I was, but I still wanted to go, so I would go by myself. It wasn't even something I thought about back then. And before long, I realized that there are some real benefits to hiking solo. Now, don't get me wrong. I love to hike with a partner. I love to hike with my wife as well. And there's a lot of fun in that. But here's some of the reasons why hiking solo is great on its own. Out of necessity, you can go hike when you wouldn't otherwise be able to. Number two, I found that being alone in the wilderness, in the forest, or the desert, wherever it might be, I've got to focus because I'm by myself. I need to stay safe. And so I'm always in the moment. And if you're like me in this modern society, I have a hard time being in the moment. I never have that problem when I'm hiking and in the wilderness by myself. Another reason is there's just being alone in nature has positive mental and physical effects on me. I'm not some new age guy. I'm just a 50-year-old guy who loves to be outside. And I can tell you that when I'm alone in nature, I feel different. I feel calmer, a little more peaceful. It's something I really have come to appreciate and love. And so many times I purposely seek out hiking alone by myself. Additionally, when you're by yourself in nature, you're more likely to see wildlife. Why? Well, when I'm hiking with others, we're talking, we're having a good time. We might scare away wildlife from our talking, but also I'm less focused because I'm just having a great time with my friend. But when I'm by myself, I'm in the moment. I'm always looking around and listening. And so I'm more likely to not scare away the wildlife, but also to see it, which is great. Now let's talk a little bit about safety. And before we get into the details, I want to acknowledge hiking alone, like any activity, has some risk. You can't eliminate everything, but we'll talk about how to stay safe, how to feel comfortable doing so. And I think for myself and many others, the benefits greatly outweigh the risks. The first step to being safe out on the trail actually happens back at home. It involves being prepared and doing your homework. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I just want to go hiking. I didn't want to do any homework, but trust me, doing the homework that I'll describe is actually part of the fun. So first, before you leave the house, you need to know where you're going. So choosing a route, doing your research, going to whatever app you might use, whether it's All Trails or looking at an online website, top 10 hikes at Rocky Mountain National Park, finding that route. Finding it not just because it will be a fun route for you, but it will be a distance and a difficulty level that's in your wheelhouse. Remember, you're going to be by yourself, so you don't want to overdo it. You want to choose something that's going to make sense for your abilities. It's a beautiful day here in the forest. Let's hike on over to one of my favorite spots. We'll heat up a little tea. I'll show you what I bring in my pack, my 10 essentials and other things I bring when I'm hiking solo. And we'll talk about how to relax in the forest. Well, I've brewed up some tea, so let's talk a little bit about how to stay safe once you're on the trail. Now, at this point, you've already done your research. You've told a friend or a loved one where you're going, what time you'll be back, and what to do if you're not back in time. Now, when you hit the trail, you need to bring things that will help you stay safe. Things like a first aid kit and the knowledge of how to use it. You want to at least have some Neosporin, some Band-Aids, some moleskin. There are a few other things that would be useful to have all the time. I carry a paper map. Even though I'm using All Trails or some other app on my phone, I always have the paper map, and I've looked at it ahead of time so I'm familiar with it. For navigation, I also always carry this GPS. This is an InReach Garmin, and I can use it in case of an emergency for SOS. I pay for the subscription. And I can also send text messages with it. It's good to have because you can't always rely on having a telephone or a cell phone connection out in the forest. Now, one more thing that I didn't always bring when I hiked, but I have brought now consistently now that I've gotten older, and that's bear spray. It's just good to have. You never know if you're going to need it. It's very rare that you're going to have a dangerous encounter with an animal, but it's good to know you have the insurance just in case. A few other tips for staying safe when you're alone on the trail. I'm always extra careful when I'm by myself. That means I don't do any scrambling or any kind of exposed trails. If I'm by myself, I'm very conservative. I'll save those kinds of trails for when I'm with a friend. I'm also always paying attention. Now, as I mentioned before, that's part of the fun. But that also means I won't be listening to music when I'm on the trail by myself. I want to be focused. I want to keep track of where I am, where I'm going, and my surroundings. That always helps me stay aware and not get lost. My tea is almost cooled down enough for me to drink it. Let's move on to the part of the video I've most been looking forward to, and that's how to feel at ease or comfortable when you're hiking alone. And don't worry, if you're a little bit concerned that you might never feel comfortable hiking alone, there's steps that you can take that can help get you there. I can't guarantee you'll ever feel 100% comfortable hiking alone. Maybe it's not for everyone, but these are steps that definitely can help. First of all, having done your homework, your preparation, that helps you be comfortable, or let's say confident, that you know where you're going. You know you're doing a hike that's in your ability level, etc. You know you've got an emergency plan in case something does go wrong. All those things contribute to helping you feel more comfortable being alone. The next step I would recommend is do a trail that you've done many times before with a friend or a partner, a trail you already know like the back of your hand. You just haven't done it by yourself. Another, if you have a dog that you can bring with you, go ahead. That will make you feel comfortable. I know our dog is always on the lookout and is maybe a step ahead of me in seeing what's going on in the surroundings. Now, dogs aren't allowed everywhere. Where they are allowed, and if your dog is a good companion for the woods, that's another way to be by yourself without other humans and feel a little more comfortable. There's another method, one that my wife and I call the hybrid method. I don't know if anyone else calls it that. I'll explain what it is. And it really is a good step towards being comfortable by yourself in the woods. What we do when we're hiking together, because we have a different pace, I walk faster, she walks a little slower, rather than us each changing our natural pace, we just go at our normal speed. That means I'll go ahead and she'll be a little bit behind. And so for long stretches of a hike, we may not see each other at all. So in essence, we're hiking alone, but we've got someone nearby that we will see at breaks or at beautiful viewpoints. And we know that we're going to keep a lookout for each other and not get too far apart. But absolutely, we may go a half hour or 60 minutes without seeing each other. And during that time, you're on your own. I think that hybrid method is a way you can work your way up to hiking completely by yourself. Maybe you're waiting for me to share some of those scary encounters that I mentioned earlier. So there's two. Both of them involved animals. One was here in Colorado and one was in New Jersey. The first encounter I'll tell you about happened about this time of year, a couple of years back. I was hiking in the foothills outside of Boulder, Colorado. It had snowed the night before, just a couple of inches, so it was no big deal to hike in it. But I was hiking in a section of trail where there were no other tracks before me, so I knew I was the first person hiking there that day. And at some point, I could see tracks enter the trail, and they were not human. They were obviously mountain lion, which are pretty distinctive when you see them. And so I see these mountain lion tracks enter the trail going the same direction I'm going. Now at this point, I really wasn't concerned. I figured, oh, mountain lion probably came in overnight, got on the trail and got right off the trail and went about his way. But as I continued, the mountain lion tracks kept going through that fresh snow for about, 100 yards or so, until all of a sudden, the mountain lion tracks leave the trail, and like just 2 or 3 feet from the trail, they end at a tree. Now at that point, I had to force myself to look up that tree. I'm expecting to see a mountain lion right there. I'm right there already. I have to look. But there's no mountain lion in that tree. It's inexplicable. There's no other tracks. The tracks for the mountain lion ended right there at the tree. He must have gone up that tree. Where he went from there, I don't know. But it was a scary moment. I shared that mountain lion story because it really did, make me nervous, kind of scared. Whether it would bother you or not, I don't know. The other animal encounter that I experienced that really scared me involved bears. I'm from New Jersey, and people have a notion of what New Jersey's all about, whether it's the Jersey Shore, the Jersey Turnpike, or maybe Bruce Springsteen, I don't know. But some people are surprised to learn that northern New Jersey is a beautiful area despite being so close to New York City. It has beautiful forests and hiking trails and mountains. You might call them hills, but we call them mountains. The other thing northern New Jersey has is a surprisingly high bear population, black bears. So having bear encounters while hiking alone wasn't that unusual, and they didn't always make me nervous. But what normally happened was the bear would either completely ignore you, like it must have smelled you or seen you, you're close by, but it would ignore you and just go about its own way. The other thing that also was common was a bear would see you and he would take off in the other direction. He did not want to deal with humans. That's good. Now there was a third type of encounter that happened to me only once, and this did scare me. I was hiking by myself in a very swampy area. I looked back to where I had been hiking, like 50, maybe a little bit, 75 feet behind me, and I saw a bear. Again, not super unusual, but this bear got up on its hind legs and he was like smelling the air, and he was standing literally where I had been just, a few moments before. Then he got down off of his hind legs and starts heading straight towards me. So I continued like another 100 feet down the trail, look around. That bear is standing where I just was when I first noticed him. He's continuing along this way. So that bear just kept following me, and I would continue looking back and seeing that bear, and a couple of times he would get up on his hind legs. This is the part that scared me. And he'd be sniffing in the air, get down off of his hind legs and start walking straight towards me. I didn't like that at all. Now, luckily, I was not all that far from the trailhead, so this went on for, it seemed like a while, but it was probably 15 minutes of this bear. I felt like it was stalking me. Now, I understand that if that bear really wanted to run up on me, he would have, but nevertheless, he was interested enough to continue following me, and I didn't like it one bit. By the time I got to my car, would you believe that that bear was right by that trailhead sign? There was no one else in the parking lot, but at that point, I was safe at my car. So, crisis averted. I hope you enjoyed those stories. I'm glad I don't have scarier stories when hiking alone, because generally, despite having done, hundreds of hikes solo at this point, it doesn't feel to me like a particularly unsafe activity. I'm always taking precautions, doing my homework, bringing the safety items, letting people know where I am, staying within my limits, always being cautious. But the benefits are I get to enjoy being alone in the forest or on the trail, really having peace and solitude. It's special for me, whether I'm out for exercise or out today trying to just make a little bit of tea and enjoy myself. I really believe that hiking alone is something truly that most people would enjoy if they gave it a chance. Always stay safe out there. Let me know in the comments if you've hiked alone, if you think I forgot something important. whatever you might think. I hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers.